So right off the bat, probably just go over pressing bearings into the case half. Bearings into case halves, you want to make sure they're pretty much well lined up. This one's kind of offset. You could get a seal or bearing race driver kit. Really recommend that. You can also use a socket that is the same size as the outer edge, not bigger because you'll start damaging the outside edge. Don't ever hammer on the inside edge because you'll ruin the bearing. Because you're just putting all the force on the balls in the cage. So, alright, here we go. So, pressing in these bearings, I'm not going to be using a press. I'm just going to be using a bearing and seal driver kit. Got to make sure you get the right size. This is slightly bigger. This is slightly too small. I don't want to, well, maybe that'll work. It's just kind of spooky. We'll try it, see how it feels. I got to grab a hammer. Go big or go home. So, since this one's kind of cockeyed in it, I'm just going to focus on getting it somewhat lined up by tapping the edge that isn't quite lined up, and that kind of set in just fine. So after that, you're just going to lightly but with force, and if it starts to go off again, you just kind of tap on that outside edge, line everything up. That kind of went too far. There we go. And it's going off again. And you hear that? Solid. That's all the way in. That's that for that one. I'm only going to have to do 3. So the other case half, this guy right me off. Same thing on this one. Tighten this guy up a little bit. And we're just going to drive them in. Solid. Solid sounding, solid feeling. This bearing just kind of like popped right out. Kind of concerning. But it feels like it's a tight fit. Maybe it just wasn't sitting all the way in. I don't know. Make sure you have a nice flat surface. Blocks of wood or something where you're not going to damage the the edges, or I guess it'd be the sealing surfaces on this. So we're going to find a guy that's our size that we're looking for. Don't need that one no more. And we're going to need this one for both of them. So we're just going to drive this guy in. Solid, flush, and they don't have any retainers holding them down on this one. This guy does. Another gear on that other side did as well. So we have this edge here, obviously, that the bearing is going to ride against, so we're just going to flip it over and drive him in on this side. I really recommend taking the dowel pins out, that way you don't damage the dowel pins. Oh, that one might come out. Grab a set of pliers. Twist and wiggle like a loose tooth. Bam, one out. Flip them over, and let's get this guy driven in. Nice and solid. And this guy does have retainers somewhere in there in that mess. So that's it. That's how you drive in bearings using this method.